Well, everything is awesome. Let's talk about SQL parameterized query today. Before we start, let me explain what is SQL injection. Here is an example. Let's set SQL query string to get user past their username and password verification are with this format. Direct query term can be modified simply by shifting the apostrophe location just like this. See. Log in successfully. This is one of the example with SQL injection attack. SQL injection is a code injection technique that might destroy your database. It is one of the most common web hacking techniques. SQL injection usually occurs when you ask a user for input. The user, or might be hacker, gives you an SQL statement that you will unknowingly run on your database. A successful SQL injection attack can result in unauthorized access to sensitive data, such as passwords, credit card details, or personal user information. Many high-profile data breaches in recent years have been the result of SQL injection attacks, leading to reputational damage and regulatory fines. In order to prevent SQL injection attack, programmers should always make their query term in parameter form, or known as prepared statement. Direct query method complete whole SQL statement after user's input, then sent to database server to be executed. Meanwhile, parameterized query method pre-compiling a SQL statement so that all you need to supply are the parameters that need to be inserted into the statement for it to be executed. I used the example as I shown previously. As user inputted username with modified apostrophe location, the criteria after, or syntax are become irrelevant, so SQL statement consider valid and passed for query. When using parameterized SQL statement, similar input will be treated as a whole variable, instead of join with SQL statement. As second statement are empty, so it is null, SQL server will inform query didn't return any result based on database table which built with both username and password are complete with data. Next, we should step into how to do coding with SQL parameterized query. Let me create a simple login interface over here. 2 text box, one for username, another one for password. Then one button for login. Give name to each of these control. Create another text box to display the login status. Now, double-click on login button and go to coding page. I will create direct query method first. As you're aware, I am using Access database as example. If you are using SQL Server database, you can simply change the data string format by referring to SQL Server. Syntax for query data from Access database or SQL database are similar, different to which reference nugget we're using. So you can modify a little from my code for your SQL database, or you may leave a comment below. I shall give you example in reply. Over here I make 2 scenario. If the data rows more than 0, then it's mean query return with data. The username and password provided are correct. Then the status text box will appear, connection success. If the data table doesn't contain any data rows, that's mean the username and password are wrong. So status text box will display, connection failed. Another scenario added whereby situation of not able to connect to database, the status text box will display error message. This mostly useful when at development stage. After debug, we normally will hide this message from user environment. Now we shall test run. First with normal scenario. User key in username and password accordingly. Connection success. Then without password being key into password text box. Connection fail. Third, I try with SQL injection attack. OK. Due to my typo, status text box display syntax error, this message are returned by database. Let me correct the typo. Well. Connection success. That's mean with current code are vulnerable to SQL injection attack. Now, let's parameterize the query terms. First user's input, the username. Insert a symbol of alias at the front and variable as username, following. Second uses input, the password, same as username, insert a symbol of alias at the front and following with variable, password. Create an OLDB command to pre-compiling the SQL command. Then use command.parameter.add with value to input data from user's input. The syntax shall mention which parameter to be added with value. Remember the alias symbol that I just inserted in the parameterized query terms. Then the adapter calling method shall also change. Instead of calling directly from string, now we're calling from database command. Let's test run. Same as first trial run. Trial with both username and password key in. Then only username key in. And last with SQL injection attack. Now, with SQL injection method, the result still appeared as connection failed. Thanks for watching. Please visit to my blog by clicking the link below. If you are interested to download the code, please left a message for me. Click like and subscribe.